Leanne, thank you. With me, Senator James Lankford, Republican of Oklahoma, member of the Intelligence Committee and Homeland Security Committee. Nice to see you, sir.
Great to see you.
Okay, the issue, what happened last night with Senator Elizabeth Warren, would you have shut her down?
I don't know if it's a matter of shutting her down. It's a matter of trying to build comedy again. Starting in 1902, the Senate had a rule, what we affectionately call Rule 19. No one ever tracks that. But it basically says you can't impugn another senator, either directly or indirectly. There have been about 6 hours of debate about Jeff Sessions already. There have been a lot of information out there, a lot of statements out there, both parties engaging in debate. When Elizabeth Warren got up to speak, it was a different level. It was a different tone. And the majority leader saw it. She was using words like disgraceful, talking about reading letters and saying he should have resigned, saying he's a throwback to an old era. And it became just a different level of personal accusations. And that's why people stepped in and said, okay, let's just tone the rhetoric down. We can debate, but let's talk. All
right, a couple things. One is that you make reference to the rule from 1902. That was over a fist fight between two senators that first started down in South Carolina. We've gotten a little bit farther. There wasn't a fist fight. But a couple things. Number one is that Senator Sessions is not there as a U.S. Senator. He's there as a nominee for Attorney General. So it's a little bit different. He's not really there as a senator. The second thing is the things that basically has caught most women's attention in this country is that she got shut down last night, but then today the guys got to do it. The guys got to read the same letter.
Because it wasn't about the letter. I've heard a lot of statements about the letter. What it was the majority leader, Mitch McConnell, was coming to the floor, heard some of the statements, was watching it on the monitor, and was on his way to the floor. When he got to the floor, he stepped in and asked for a Rule 19. It was about previous statements. A lot of folks have said it was about this evil letter that she was writing. We have great respect for Greta Scott King, and for her as both a civil rights leader, and it's entirely appropriate. There's nothing in that letter. It's previous statements that were made. That was just the moment that the majority leader got to the floor, and that's what she was reading at the time.
As a tactical matter, now I've probably got money coming in over the transom from the Democratic base. You realize that, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah, that was a conversation last night. The difficulty
as a result of that.
As a result of that. But here's the difficulty of it. The tone of the Senate is starting to get so caustic, and there's so many tempers that are flaring in it. It was just a moment to say, how do we turn the volume down? How do we get back to real debate? If the senators are going to actually treat each other with respect, to disagree strongly, but still be able to treat each other with respect and debate, let's be a role model to the nation.
I don't like rudeness. Believe me, I don't like that. But there's a lot of games playing on both sides. I mean, for instance, I thought Merrick Garland should have gotten at least a hearing, but the Republicans wouldn't even put him up for a hearing. So I mean, there's a lot of games playing going back and forth, right?
That's the nature of the body. Obviously, those are the rules that are part of the conversation that are here.
Except that you don't mind the rule being invoked against her.
I wouldn't mind the rule being invoked against anybody, Republican or Democrat. I mean, there were multiple speeches from both sides of the aisle. Immediately after that, Amy Klobuchar had a great speech. Marco Rubio had a great speech. Orrin Hatch stepped up and said, how do we actually get back to having real conversation? So there's a bipartisan conversation to say, how do we tone this down? Disagree strongly, but not be personal about it.
Return to the issue of the travel ban, your position on the travel ban.
It's a temporary ban. Do you have
any sort of thought on how you think the court's going to rule? What's your guess? I realize it's voodoo. We all sort of guess. It's all voodoo.
Yeah. It's all guess. Everybody's looking at all the arguments in front of the court, trying to guess which way they're going to go based on the questions, as you do with the Supreme Court, as you do with the appellate judge. There's no way to really be able to guess at this point. It's a temporary ban. It's clearly not a ban on Muslims. I know there's a lot of argument to say this is some religious ban based on statements, based on statements that President Trump, when he was candidate Trump, made about banning Muslims, which I didn't agree with then and spoke out against them. But this is clearly not a Muslim ban.
I think one of the questions last night, which at least would sort of tip off how at least one of the judges going, is he said something to the effect that this only covers 15% of the Muslims in the world. There's something like that. I think that's the way he said that it wasn't a religious ban.
Well, yeah, and here's the challenge. There's about 40 countries that are Muslim countries. In fact, the largest countries in the world that are Muslim. Indonesia, Pakistan, you can go on and on, Saudi Arabia, that are not included in this. This is a list of 7 countries that was agreed on by Congress and by President Obama that are either state sponsors of terrorism or countries of particular concern where they're war-torn, like Somalia, like Yemen, like Syria, where we don't have good connections with the government. It was a reasonable statement. President Obama did a temporary ban on movement when he was president for a short period of time to be able to evaluate what we're going to do, take a look at it. It's not unreasonable for President Trump to say, let's look at everything and how it's working. That was incredibly sloppy in the implementation. General Kelly has already stepped out and said, hey, we handled this wrong. It was 4 days of chaos. They should have let everyone in, the embassies, the airlines, customs, to know how to be able to process it. They didn't do that. That was a mistake on their part.
Senator, thank you.
Sure.
You got to go vote, right?
I am going to go vote just in a very few minutes.
And I think you're going to vote for Senator Sessions.
I am going to vote for Senator Sessions. I would encourage anyone to watch Tim Scott's speech on the floor of the Senate tonight as he laid out the argument in talking about racism and talking about a lot of these accusations. And Tim Scott, an African-American Republican senator, laid out a fantastic argument on behalf of Senator Sessions.
Senator, thank you, Steve.
Thank
nice
you.
to see you. More now.